Hello and welcome to Long's Toys. I have a Transformers Robots in Disguise review for you today. This is Minicon, Deployer, Autobot Drift, and Jetstorm. It's a very similar package to the Fracture and Air Razor we saw yesterday. This set cost $19.99. I found it at Toys R Us. Nice picture of Jetstorm on the side there. Drift. Fortunately, my box is a little messed up. Not much going on the top, just a cool picture of the deployer. Just shows you that Fracture is also available. Shows you kind of what you get in the box here. So we will go ahead and get this guy out of the packaging and take a closer look. Alright, so here's Drift and Jetstorm out of the packaging here. As you can see, Jetstorm comes attached to this little plastic grid here that has his accessories in here. We'll pop them out a little bit later. So yeah, I'm just going to put him off to the side for a second and we'll take a look at Drift. I actually think I like Drift a little bit more than Fracture, and going into it, I had the complete opposite mindset. I thought Fracture looked a heck of a lot better than Drift, but having them in hand, I think I'm leaning towards Drift. He doesn't have a lot of posability. In fact, he has even less than Fracture, but it has to do with his transformation. The head cannot move. Basically, this arm can move. He has some shoulder pads here that you can move just to get a little bit more, articulation or movement out of him. But that's really more for the transformation. You can move this arm out to the side, but it doesn't really move forward because it's got the same kind of gimmick. You come around to here. Now, again, I don't know if my Fracture was messed up, but my Drift is definitely a lot smoother. I don't have nearly as many problems moving the Drift one, and the spring gimmick feels really smooth. It pops right back. I have no problem with this one, so that's also leading to my enjoyment. You still can't lock it down here, which I wish you could, but it's definitely much easier to use and play with. Plus, because it's kind of a little bit smaller and more integrated in with his arm here, he's not as back heavy. He doesn't want to fall back as much. I mean, he definitely still tilts back that way, or maybe he just has better feet. But he's definitely, it just kind of flows together and fits better, in my opinion. If we try to get a little bit closer here and take a look, I really do like the head sculpt. I think that's nice. It would have been cool if they would have painted his facial hair, but I understand why they didn't. So I do like that head sculpt. Let me see if I can get this to focus here a little bit better. Yes, no. There we go. So yeah, like I said, would have been nice if they painted his facial hair, but I really like his eyes, and the helmet I think looks great. And of course he's got the thing you can scan on his chest for the app game. So yeah, he looks pretty good. Whoa, light flare there. What are we doing? What are we doing? Okay. There we go, a little bit better. So that's pretty much it for the robot mode. Like I said, he doesn't have a ton of articulation, but we'll go ahead and move into his transformation. Alright, so the transformation for this guy is actually pretty cool. You're going to start by rotating this whole launcher piece up like that. And then you're going to rotate the launcher piece 180 degrees so that it's right above Drift's head, just like that. Then you're going to come around to the legs, and this whole part is going to kind of come apart like this. And then the feet are going to rotate 180 degrees. So lift this up, bring it down, and then flip this part around. And you can see that that pretty much makes the whole front of the and roof of the car, which I think is pretty neat. Then it's going to bend here at this joint, and that's just going to flip up, come all the way around. And then there's two holes right here, which are going to peg into these two pegs right there. So peg that all in, shore that up. And then you can see the car is pretty much done. You're going to take this part here, and that's going to rotate up. And then there's a peg hole on the side and a peg right there. So just peg that in. Do the same with the other one. And then you're just going to kind of fold these back And you can see there's a little slot right there, and there's a peg underneath. So you kind of just push it down a little bit until it goes in. Do that on both sides. What am I doing? It's just not fitting 100% flush. There we go. There we go. Just got all the panels weren't lined up. But yeah, so we're good. And then we have Drift's car mode. So in hand, I don't think Drift's vehicle mode looks as bad as I thought it did when I just saw pictures of it. It's kind of brickish, I will admit. It kind of is just a huge brick, and obviously the deployer function is here in the front. But I mean, if I pan out here a little bit and I bring in the Warrior class Drift, they're not super different. Obviously the whole front section is different, and this is a little bit sleeker. But I mean, he's not terrible. I'm not really sure, you know, why this guy came out so early as a Warrior class when they were going to do him as a deployer. But I think we are getting a Warrior class, a Fracture as well, so I guess they just assume that, you know, we'll buy all the versions of all the toys, and they're probably right. But as you can see, he doesn't have as much detailing. I mean, he has the red stripe on the side where he has the red stripe on the top. Obviously, this guy's going to have more articulation, and I love that kind of bullhead in the front there. Obviously, he can't have that because of this. But yeah, I think they both look pretty good. They're both good representations of the character. So taking a closer look at Jetstorm here, I really like him. I mean, he's fairly simplistic in color scheme. It's mostly black and gray, but I really like the head. I think that the head sculpt's done well. I love the gold crest. I love the shiny blue metallic eyes, and I love the kind of little grimace he has on his face. Not really much going on in the back, mostly gray. But I think for a Minicon, he's really cool. Transformation is very simple. You just push the legs in, and he'll just, you know, collapse into this little circle disc here. So again, you just pull the legs out to transform him. Now the legs don't like super lock in place. Like if you were to just kind of tap him, he'll probably eventually transform. But, you know, he'll stand. It's not a problem. So I think he looks good. He does come with accessories, just like Air Razor did with Fracture. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of pop these in. This one here will plug in on his back. I think that looks pretty cool. He's got this pretty excellent like samurai headdress here. Plug that in. He's got these two pads of armor you can kind of put here on his arms. He's got these pieces here which will clip on his shoulders. Oops. And it's nice, these two are kind of beveled so that it makes sense when you clip it in. Like on the other shoulder it won't really fit right, but then it fits perfectly on the other one. And then he's got these two swords, which I think look great. So I mean, he gets like full samurai armor armed to the teeth. And I'll move this up a little bit so you can see. I really like it. I think this armor looks fantastic. He's got this cool bit on his back. He's got the nice shoulder pads. Now, the helmet does pretty much completely obscure his face underneath. But it does look cool, and I love the swords. I think they look great. And another thing you can do, zooming back out, Drift obviously did not come with any swords of his own. But you can take the two swords from this guy, and you can bring them over here, and you can see how they have kind of a weird joint there. That's for these pieces on the side. And you can just pop them on. And now Drift has some accessories. So he's got some swords. Whoop, falling over. There we go. So now he can kind of slash a little bit. You know, he's ready for battle. He's got some swords. You can also take these. Pop this off. Whoa, that went flying. And if you come back over here, you can see he's got the same bevels. So you can bring this over. Oops, on this one. No? Am I doing this wrong? For some reason I thought these fit in here. Guess they don't. Oh, there you go. I'm sorry. You can put them in like that. I don't really know. I thought they fit in the other way. Just by eyeballing it. I guess I should have tried it before I started recording. But, you know, we learned together. So you can plug them in like that. I don't really know what that's going to do for you. It's obviously much cooler to have him hold it. But I love the armor on this guy. And I think it's cool that, you know, Drift can get in on the action and use one of the swords as well. Also wanted to do a quick side-by-side comparison of Warrior Class Drift and Deployer Drift. Obviously this one has kind of a more orangey color scheme, while this one is more the dark gray color scheme. I mean, that's the prominent color, I should say. They both have the same color scheme, but this is orange kind of takes over and the dark gray kind of takes over. Now, Drift does have his swords, and this Drift does not, but if you want to, you can switch these over. And this Drift can hold the sword from the Warrior Class Drift. Not in this hand, obviously, because that's doing his deployer point. He's telling people to go forth and charge. So, but he can hold the sword, so I think that's pretty cool. So I definitely like this Drift more for posability, but I do like this Drift as well for the gimmick, which we'll take a look at in a minute. I realize I haven't shown you the deployer action yet. But I think they both look good. I kind of like this helmet a little bit more than this helmet, just because it's a little bit more, the dark gray kind of defines it more a little bit, I think. But I think both representations of the character have merit. I think they're both pretty good. The one thing I do wish we could have had, and I don't know how hard it would have been to add it, even on this one, a little raised tab, and especially on this one, for these guys. On the show, and I realize again, with Fracture, it definitely wouldn't have made sense to do because of the scale he's in. On the show, the Decepticon deployers, or Minicons, hide in his shoulder pads, and that wouldn't have worked for that figure. But I feel like since these are, you know, they would have been a little bit comically large, but they have a little tab. I feel like it would have been easy enough to just put it so he could wear it on his forearms here like he does in the show. Even on the Warrior class, I think that would have been fantastic. Just a little tab just to have been able to carry these around on his forearms like he does on the show. I think that would have been really neat. Just a missed opportunity, I think. You know, they probably didn't occur to them, but I think that would have been fantastic to do. So now we'll move on and we'll check out the deployer gimmick. I'm going to put him back in vehicle mode because it works better, easier to show in my opinion. Alright, so I've got him back in vehicle mode here to go ahead and take a look at the deployer gimmick. Got Jetstorm transformed into his disc mode. Very simple. You can even see this bottom part is going to kind of feed into this channel. So you just very simply pop them in, and you'll hear the piece lock, and then this button right here fires it. So I think it shoots pretty well. Mine is a little finicky. It's giving me the business. There we go. So yeah, I think it fires pretty well. Mine doesn't always want to stay pushed down, but if you give it a good lock, it stays down. And then, like I said, I don't know if it fires as great as Fracture's does, but it definitely shoots pretty good. I definitely like the little Minicons. I think this gimmick is pretty fun. And the deployer function works great. So I'm definitely glad I decided to pick this guy up. Originally, I wasn't going to. When I first saw pictures for the deployers, I didn't think they looked very good, and I wasn't interested. But getting them in hand, they're definitely more fun than I expected them to be. And I think that the vehicle and robot modes for the deployers are not bad. They're obviously not going to be as good as a Warrior class figure. That's to be expected. It is a gimmick figure. But I think they're fun in their own right. And I definitely think they have a decent amount of articulation for a figure that you can still have fun with it. And kids are definitely going to have a lot of fun with these because they can collect the Minicons and shoot them all over the place with the deployer aspect. So it's definitely fun in that regard. I love Jetstorm. I think he's a fantastic little Minicon. I think it's so cool that he has all the armor and that Drift can use some of the armor to use the swords since he doesn't have swords of his own. I definitely think it's fun. I think, after all, my Fractured, the gimmick was just a little messed up because the spring gimmick to rotate the deployer down definitely works better on Drift, so hopefully yours will be, no problems and you'll just have a lot of fun with it. So I think it's great to have a warrior class Drift for people who want super articulation, and it's good to have a deployer Drift for people who like that as well. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like and share this video. Please make sure you're subscribed. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Minicon deployer Drift and Jetstorm, and thanks for watching.